You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast's IPL coverage. We're doing two games today, Thursday and Friday. We'll start off with, the Andre Russell gun show in the match against Punjab Kings. Before we move on to talk about yesterday's run-fest, Chennai Super Kings losing out in the end to the Lucknow Super Giants in a 200-run-aside thriller. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How you doing, Ross?
I'm great, mate. And the IPL has been brilliant so far. So, I'm thoroughly enthralled.
And Max Rowe Brown, you're up there on the top right for people on YouTube. How are you doing?
I'm sad that I didn't put Andre Russell in my fantasy team. That's how I am.
We all are. Apart from Ross. He's not sad. He's happy. Before we get into the main bit of the podcast where we talk about the IPL, we're going to do a weekend preview as well, actually, aren't we? I probably should have said that. There's extra content.
Bonus.
We're packed with content. What are the messages that our listeners, our viewers, people who read the transcripts, they need to know, Ross?
Well, they need to know that Max is wearing his CSK shirt first and foremost. Which is good, right?
Even in defeat.
Even in defeat. But what they really need to know is that we are sponsored by Serious Cricket, and you should use code TCP22 for 10% off all equipment. We've seen quite a few people ordering through there, so keep on doing that and getting ready for the summer. Go on to Twitter and Instagram and follow us at the Cricket Pod, and then also sign up for Patreon. The Discord is fantastic at the moment. We've just had we've had another sign up today, which is great. Spider has landed, as far as I know. So welcome to Spider and the guys in there at the moment who are making the IPL experience that little bit more special. I don't think there's any more messages, Jack. I think we should get on with the show.
We're recording our Patreon exclusive episodes today, so it's the ideal time to sign up. Patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. You get access to that when it drops, probably sometime over the weekend. It'll be a little bit late, but I had COVID, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Max, we just watched a game with Andre Russell in it. Can you summarise? Can you summarise the bits that included Dre Russ and the bits that didn't?
Yeah, so we said before the tournament, and probably after the first game of the tournament, Punjab Kings, don't know what we're going to get. I've decided Punjab Kings is like buying a car on Auto Trader. You don't know when it turns up or when you turn up to test drive it, whether it's going to be beautifully run, lovely smooth engine, beautiful gearbox, drive off into the sunset at high speed, or completely crap out, blow up out the exhaust and break down immediately. First time we saw them, they drove off into the sunset, and this time they broke down immediately and were pretty dreadful with the bat. For all the good intent that there was, particularly with Rajapaksa scoring 31 off 9 deliveries, everyone kind of played a really bad shot, got out, and they stumbled to 137 all out, which for a mile looked like it might be tricky for KKR after Rahul Chahar took his second wicket. But then the aforementioned man, Andre, rustled a few feathers in his 70 off 31 to absolutely blast KKR past the target. 141 off 14.3 overs. Some good net run rate action for KKR and a very comprehensive victory.
Yeah, it definitely was. Can we talk about Andre Russell first? There's some other things I want to talk about. I mean, like when I was watching this game, I thought Andre Russell, he's the headline. Punjab Kings really being exposed in a couple of areas. That's something we need to talk about. And then the final thing, KKR on the march. Let's start with Andre Russell, Ross. He was back to his best.
Yeah, I think after last season, he was beleaguered by injury. Here you saw just what he's capable of, right? It rained sixes, and it didn't matter who was bowling against him. He took an over and a half to get his eye in, and then was just like, why am I even bothering here? I'm just going to swing this cricket bat and see what happens.
Every time I looked over to the screen with the cricket on, all I saw was just a shot of the sky.
Yeah, everyone was just like that.
It was just like...
every cricket fan turned into a plane spotter for about an hour. But it was just supreme, right? It just demonstrated why he is such an asset to this side. And we, in the preview show, Jack, we talked about there's so much that could go wrong with this KKR side if injuries get the better of them, right? They've got Narain, who's very injury prone. Varun Chakravarti's got fitness issues. Russ has got one shoulder and he still hits it out the stadium. But there's still
bad shoulder.
Shreyas Iyer. Venki Iyer had a hamstring injury and whatever else. So there's so much risk that's involved there. But when they come together, it works, right? They're a relatively conservative team, and by that they've got kind of Rahane, Venki Iyer, Shreyas Iyer. They've got three anchors there, pretty much. And then they've got that.
You wouldn't say Billings is the gun show either, would you?
No, you wouldn't. But they kind of set up to go. We're going to be pretty tight, or as tight as we possibly can be in the bowling lineup. Use the 8 overs of Narain and Chakravarti to really really twist and turn the screw, and then we're going to have enough about us to get to 150. And here, it wasn't exactly the plan that Andre Russell would hit 80 off 10 balls, but it's worked out for them.
It was, you both sort of touched upon the point there that he actually took a little bit of time to get going. When he came in, the game was, I don't want to say back in the balance, but it was a contest again. Punjab's score wasn't particularly exciting. 138, you don't win often. 138 on the board. But they dragged themselves back into the game. Chahar bowled that double wicket maiden, didn't he?
He did.
Which was handy, I think you'd say. Probably. Handy? Is that what you'd say?
Useful, yeah.
Yeah, useful. And then, Andre Ross took a few balls to get himself in. And then took a dislike to Harpreet Brar, didn't he?
But that's 2 teams in a row have taken a dislike to Harpreet Brar.
Should we talk about the Smith over too? I think that probably deserves a little mention here.
Which one of you on Twitter said more like "Oh dear Smith"? Because I very much like that. Very much like that.
I wish it were me.
There's a sort of a big debate. Maybe we'll talk about this when we talk about Punjab, about who falls out the team when Johnny Bairstow comes back in. And it was a little bit of an audition, I thought, between Rajapaksa and Odean Smith. Which obviously the hero of the last game. I mean, he has his talents. That over to Andre Russell though, it's a hard one. Having a go at him here is a bit like having a go at somebody being nutmegged by Messi. It's going to happen occasionally, but maybe don't stand with your legs as far apart as they could be, and maybe don't bang it in sort of halfway down the wicket on a pitch that wasn't
and a pretty short boundary.
Yeah.
Not that it mattered, because all the sixes were about 90 metres. So.
And then he crowned it, didn't he, by overstepping for the last ball and letting Sam Billings hit one into the stadium. I think somebody worked it out on the Discord. It was 25% of the runs in one over. And I know at that point they'd more or less lost because Andre Russell was up and going. But it's always good, I think, to see a complete mismatch like that. Somebody who has no answers to the problems that are being presented. Because then the flip side of that, of course, is you get to see Andre Russell stretch his legs and actually just show how easy he can make the game. When he's in and going, 8 sixes.
Yeah, it did show a little bit of the naivety of Mayank Agarwal's captaincy, I thought. And we've seen it a couple of times over the last few days, actually, with some of the new captains not quite getting their decisions right. Like the bowling matchup for Odean Smith and Russell, when Russell wasn't quite in. But Russell hitting a 6 doesn't mean he's in, right? But there was a bit of nervousness around this. And Jack, you said that he might get out quite playing like a nervous poke here, kind of at the start, because there was a load of pressure on KKR. And he was their route to victory. But yeah, that just completely unlocked all the pressure. And the first ball that he bowled, he just went, yep, I'm going to clip this for 4. And it was just game over from that point.
We've got a new super fan on YouTube. Zyfaf is the name. It's lots of X's and Y's and things. But thank you for signing up. Much
a good
love.
Scrabble score, that one.
It would be excellent. Much love to you. If you're on YouTube, hit like, and if you're joining us for the first time, or you joined us for a few times but you haven't already, hit subscribe too. There are good things to do.
Talk
Punjab
about
Kings.
Punjab Kings.
Yeah, Punjab Kings. Batting first. They started like a team that had double parked the bus and really needed to get on with things before being slapped with a £60 fine for said double parking. Agarwal fell early. Umesh Yadav, my shout for purple cap.
Jason, great guns, mate. I mean,
Smashing it.
I know compared to your other predictions, this one's doing all right.
And he's used it all up in one go.
I think if you say something as outrageous as Umesh Yadav is a shout to win the purple cap, and the prediction gods hear that, they've got to balance it out somehow, haven't they? They've been like, look, you can have that one. Nothing else you say is ever coming true.
The prediction gods have not been kind to me on saying that Manish Pandey was going to have a good season.
That was just too far, wasn't it? Sometimes.
I do think on the predictions, before we talk about Punjab Kings, I think only once as a team that I predicted would win won the toss. So that's what I'm going to blame. It's the toss's fault and the dew factor's fault.
Maybe you should just start. Maybe you should just start predicting who'll win the toss. Probably got better odds.
Right. Punjab Kings, they're 63 for 3 at the end of the power play. Or 62 for 3 rather, at the end of the power play. And then the wheels come off slightly. And I think what we saw here was a major problem for them tournament, in that their 5, their 6, their 7, their 8 are all really, really limited batters. And any time they lose 3 wickets in the first 10 overs match in this IPL, I think they're going to struggle to put up a reasonable score, because none of them are capable of playing cricket shots. What do you think of that hypothesis, Max?
I would agree with you completely. Obviously, not having Johnny Bairstow makes it a little tougher, because he would add a bit more to that. Arguably, he would be in there instead of Rajapaksa. But looking at it, you might want to play both of them and bring in, like you say, maybe someone like Sandeep Sharma for Odin Smith to balance that out. But they're kind of paradoxical, aren't they? Because they're set up to try and smack the ball as hard as they can, pretty much from the start.
Yeah.
But they don't have the depth to do it, because if it all goes wrong, they're a bit stuffed.
Ross, you look like you're going to disagree with us.
It's not that I disagree. I just think that we can't go from saying that Punjab Kings are the most exciting team, they're going to blitz it, they're the big power hitters in this team, to then saying fundamentally they've got a complete issue with their team that means they're not going to do anything in this tournament, which I kind of think is what
I'm not sure that's what we're saying.
That is what we're saying. What I'm saying is
that it could go wrong.
Yeah, to make the playoffs, you need to win 8 matches. Is a lineup that has Raj Bauer, who, to be honest, didn't look like he could actually, Basically, what I think Bauer and Khan and Odin Smith, what they can do is clear the front leg and swing as hard as they can and nail a cricket ball. And that is useful. That is a really useful skill to have in T20
What they
cricket.
can't do is pick Sunil Narine.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue. So they were in this situation, 63 for 3 at the end of the power play. It's not ideal. You've lost 3 wickets, but you do have 63 on the board. In that situation, if you can score 30 off the next 5 overs and make it 90 after 11, then you can just be like, well, release the hounds. Let's go for it. But none of those players have got that other gear. All they can do is clear the front leg and swing. And if you're 63 for 3 and you clear the front leg and swing and get out, which happens a lot, this is why you need like a deep batting lineup if that's how you're going to play, because quite often you hit the ball right up in the air like Shahrukh Khan did. And he didn't even pick a bad ball to go for. He picked like a length delivery from Tim Southey that wasn't scramble seam. And
so, I mean, that was something I wanted to sort of pick up on the Punjab performance, really. You can't really blame them for any of the shots they played, apart from maybe Rajapaksa, who had already smacked the ball around, and that one was a bit close to go for the way he did. But, I mean, Dhawan went for a wide full one and messed it up. Liam Livingstone nearly cleared the rope and didn't. Raj Bauer, best just not talk about that. Shahrukh Khan, you've already mentioned, they're all balls that you're entirely entitled to go for, and they just didn't execute properly. And that's when the sort of problems that we were just discussing come in.
I think what really further illustrates this as well is that Raj Bauer, strike rate of 85, Shahrukh Khan doesn't score a run in 5 balls, Harpreet Brar, 14 off 18, Odin Smith, 9 off 12. you can see that really they are only able to play one way, and when they try and play the other way, they're completely ineffective. Like, they're all terrible innings, and they used up a lot of balls there as well. I mean, like, it's 25 balls between Odean Smith and Raj Bauer for 20 runs there. If an opener did that, we would hose them. And these boys, they're there to be scoring between them 30 or 20 balls, and it's you know, if what this means for Agarwal and Darwan and, I don't know, Rajapaksa or Bairstow and Livingstone, is that they have to look over their shoulder because you've got no idea what these boys are going to do. Like, it's.
Are you saying what they need is they need someone like KL Rahul back?
No, what I'm saying.
You can't trust the lower order.
What I'm saying is that I think they need to think about who bats number 5 for them. I don't think
it's not Raj Bauer.
I don't think it can be him, yeah, and I don't think that you can have 4 players who play an identical style of cricket coming in those positions. You need a little bit more tactical flexibility there for when you don't absolutely have everything going your own way. Look, it's fine if you're 180 for 3 in the 18th over, isn't it? That's perfect. You just got all these guys who can come in and swing, but you're setting yourself up to fail a lot of times. Now, if you go back, I think I said, you need to win 8 matches to get to the playoffs, and you probably need a decent net run rate. They've got a pretty poor net run rate now. I guess I haven't got the table up, but I'd guess it was pretty poor. And I don't know, having seen this lineup in both formats, whether they're going to have 8 games where they get to 180 plus. If they do, they'll probably will. I mean, actually, you know what? To be fair as well, when you get to 180 plus, that's not a guaranteed win. 138 is almost a guaranteed defeat. 180. You're going to lose a lot of games when you score 180, maybe 30%. And what I'm saying here is I'm not sure that this is sustainable. And there's it was the topic of the day really in the chat, wasn't it, that we have on the Discord? Who does Bairstow come in for? Like, we know Bairstow's coming in for somebody. I think people started the day thinking it would be Rajapaksa. And I think maybe we're finishing the day being like, they need to find out, who bowls that 5th set of 4 overs, because Bairstow's got to come in for Odean Smith and do something about the fact that nobody can play spin, and Raj Bauer is batting 5. Is that fair enough?
I think it is. I think that top of the order, right, in terms of Shikhar Dhawan and Mayank Agarwal, like, their role is typically to try to see them through to 8 overs, right? And it's kind of in that role of, do you know what, hit at 130 and actually get them to that bit, but then everyone else around them can just hit. And it is kind of that position. But we know Dan Weston kind of lives and dies by the sword of, we've got to be hunting boundaries, right? And I think Rajapaksa in that lineup, you can't drop him now. He's the one who's demonstrated he goes out.
What I'm really not advocating for here is like full anchor mode. I'm not saying find somebody who can strike, find Manish Pandey and put him in. I'm saying you need somebody who can play cricket shots batting at number 5 in case you need to play some cricket shots. Like, it's not, you can't be so one-dimensional.
You need a plan B, basically.
It could be Bairstow, it could be Livingstone that drops down there. I think both of those would be fine options. Maybe you want Bairstow at 4, to be honest, to play against spin, because Rajapaksa and Livingstone, if they have a weakness, that's where it is. You put Bairstow in at 4, that looks nice.
Livingstone, I don't mind that.
Well, Livingstone, we could drop Livingstone as well. Would you drop him or?
Well, I genuinely, they spent so much money on Livingstone that they can't do him. They just can't. This the sunk cost fallacy of that player. They just won't. I just don't think they'll be able to do that. And I think actually utilising his spin in a bit of a better way when he's not going, come and bowl against Trey Russ when he's on 65 off of 17 balls. What isn't exactly the ringing endorsement that you need in that situation.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough task, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I kind of think he's going to get a run of games. I think they'd be stupid not to give him that run of games. I think there's quite a lot of fans here who are jumping on the Livingstone's never done it in the IPL, he's actually rubbish bandwagon. Not sure I'm a big buyer of that. 2 games in, you can see his striking intent, and I think that's typically a good thing. And
he will do a Dre Russ this year if he plays long enough, I think.
You think? I don't think he'll do that. So I think Livingstone in the IPL might be. He's been bought like a player who is a first choice overseas player. I'm not quite sure his talent quite matches that, because they've got Bairstow on the cheap. It's sort of all right. They cover off, right? But I think he might be a second or a third choice player in the IPL. Like he's good enough to bowl 2 overs a match, but I think if you look at his numbers, there may be a little bit of a weakness there against spin, especially quality spin, and almost every team in the IPL has got somebody that could potentially tie him up a little bit there or get him out. I mean, like the way you said, maybe Rajapaksa is the only person who can take the blame for how they got out. I don't think it was too clever from Livingstone.
I thought it was a good thing to go for, right? Rajapaksa was smoking Mavic.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm going to try and continue doing this because this is the best way that we're going to set up a decent total. Yeah. I was absolutely fine with it. And if any player who gets 31 of 9 balls has done their job.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, and on Livingstone, I think unless he literally doesn't know what these guys are like, I think he had to take a little bit more responsibility there. Just to get them through to the point in the game when you can just say to them, all go out and swing. It doesn't matter. Like, all go out and swing. And he didn't. He was like, well, I'm going to try and hit, I don't know, was it Narayan back over his head for 6? That's quite difficult to do.
Yeah, he was only a foot away. He was only a foot away from doing it, in fairness.
Yeah, but it
was there to go for.
The percentages are never that in your favour if you're going to try and do that to Narayan. Like, it's.
But if the plan is to go and do it, then it was a perfectly acceptable.
Oh, well, that's what I'm questioning is they have a structural weakness here. He is potentially the solution to that structural weakness, and he's got out caught on the boundary when his team are 60. When they have enough runs on the board that they don't necessarily need to be playing that shot, and then he exposes like the clown car middle order. And we did think before the tournament that the middle order for Punjab could be a problem, and it will be.
I do feel for Raj Bauer, especially after he finally played a nice shot.
It was a lovely shot. It was less,
and then it was immediately bamboozled. But I feel particularly bad for him with just looking at his face when he walked off. He didn't look like he believed he should be playing in the IPL for me. He looked like he did. He looked like he felt out of his depth. I'm reading that into one facial expression, but it looked like a solemn face of sadness.
Max turning into Tim Roth out of Lie to Me, if you remember that 2007 show.
So question to round this off on Punjab, and this came from Rai on Twitter. I'm going to paraphrase slightly, so thanks for the question, Rai, but I'm not going to read it all out. What would your top 7 for Punjab be in the next match, Ross?
So I would probably
Agarwal, Darwan, we're saying that. You keeping Rajapaksa at 3?
Yeah, Rajapaksa goes. Bairstow comes in at 4.
Yeah.
Livingstone goes down to 5.
Yeah.
Sharat Khan would be my 6.
Yeah.
7.
Rishi Darwan.
Again, we've not seen loads of Rishi Darwin in the IPL, right? So again, it's a risk. Harpreet Brar today I said it in the chat that it looked like a colt playing adults cricket. Some of the shots that he plays, there was, which is quite funny. But yeah, Odean Smith doesn't make it for me. I think there's going to be games where it's going to suit Odean Smith to play that side, and there might be like horses for courses, and I think they will be flexible enough to do that. I think that's probably where it's just that number 7 spot is going to be difficult. I couldn't believe today Max, you pointed out on the WhatsApp group saying sending in Chahar over Rabada.
Yeah, so odd. I had a theory about that might make sense, but given that he was
sacrificial lamb,
given that he was actually basically
Rabada was on the toilet.
So maybe no. Rabada basically they had what were they? Maybe 100 odd. Their best chance of getting some runs was probably Rabada. They didn't want Rabada to get himself out with the spinners on, so they just sent Rahul Chahar out to be bad at the spinners.
You can't deal with Umesh Yadav, though, can you?
And apparently he can't deal with Umesh Yadav, and then bring in Rabada to go and try and get something off the paces at the end because they know that the death bowling at KKR is not all up to scratch. That was my theory as to why they might have done it. But the bit that takes something out of that theory is the fact that he was carded at 11, supposedly, anyway, which is bonkers.
I think it's interesting what KKR, they've kind of acknowledged that they haven't got any death bowling, so they're just going to use all of their good bowlers until about over 16 and then see who fancies it for the last 4.
Yeah, why not?
It's an interesting tactic.
It worked pretty well today.
It nearly worked against RCB as well. And it's you do get the feeling, I mean, Shivam Marvi went around the park, didn't he? And then who did Venki Iyer bowling over, or have I imagined that?
Dre
Russ came back and got Rabada out with an unbelievable catch by
that was
by the way.
We thought Venkiaya might bowl the 20th over because Shivam Marvi was on. But the other thing is here, I mean, Marvi had a terrible game, but I think almost any of their bowling options at that point against Rabada might have got hit. Like, I don't think any of them are particularly good at the death. So I guess it was his turn.
And this is the bit for KKR. I think them playing 3 times. I said it in the before we started, saying that them playing 3 games in the opening 7 days was an advantage for them. If them coming out with 2 wins out of 3, I think is a massive boon for them, because as you say, I think they've got a fundamental problem in their death bowling, and I think that's gonna come more to the front of things in the middle to back end of the season. So it's a massive advantage to them, especially when their top orders failed.
Did we get derailed on answering the Punjab lineup question?
I think we answered it enough. We'll say that's good enough. Max.
Unless you've got a drastically different one, Max, and you're saying really. Rabada's a pinch hitter.
Max, KKR, are they for real?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I think they will be challenging for a lot of teams to play, but I just don't think they've got a sustainable batting lineup. Again, like Andre Russell scoring 70 off 30 isn't going to happen all that often, and I don't buy the top 4 at the moment. Or I don't buy the top 5 at the moment. It's sort of an inverse Punjab, isn't it? You've got,
I think
you've got 5 at the top who I don't particularly not that excited by, and then you got like Andre Russell and Narain, and
I think Punjab Kings have got a better chance of making the playoffs. I don't think it worked well for them today, but I think it will work well enough on enough occasions, and we've already come up with like a potential solution to what the problem was here, and they've got 12 matches to put that
which
in
is
place.
bringing back one of the players that they intended to play most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like they did plan for Johnny Bairstow sort of whacking spinners around. It's just Johnny Bairstow got good at Test cricket again somehow, and he wasn't available. But he will come back in, and then I don't think what happened today happens. They still managed to get up to 150, 60, and that might have been enough. Like that might have been enough pressure. Assuming that Andre Russell didn't quite happen the way it did. Should we move on? Next game.
Happy to.
Any reminders, Ross, for listeners and viewers?
We just had one question from Shashwat Gupta saying, who does Pat Cummins replace in this KKR lineup? Which is a different one because Southeast taken 5 wickets in 2 games and looked okay.
Took a great catch. We didn't mention that at all. An unbelievable
catch. So good. He ran half the width of the pitch for that. That was insane.
Yeah, I think it's Southie though.
Yeah. You think Billings has got enough about him to be ahead of Sheldon Jackson?
I don't think Sheldon Jackson is very good. We did say we said that is a bit of a problem that they have Billings as he's not a top level overseas wicketkeeper, but he isn't a bad player.
He's not a bad player, but to be taking up a whole slot for an overseas, it's not ideal, is it?
I don't necessarily think though that you need to not play Shivam Mavi, which is why you would drop Billings, isn't it? Like, he had a bad game today, but I don't think he is necessarily a bad cricketer, and that's that's the thought process that would lead you to dropping Billings.
Yeah, and I think they need that bowling option anyway.
And he can bat.
Shoulders not,
And he can bat.
So. Okay, well let's
go. Let's go.
Lucknow versus CSK.
Didn't give any messages for listeners.
Oh well.
Go to the show notes.
Serious Cricket.
Yes.
Sponsored by Serious Cricket. TCP22. Like this video if you're watching it. Go and share it with your nan, share it with your cousins, share it with your brothers, your sisters, and get more people watching us.
Yes.
Let's talk about KL Rahul getting one over on Dhoni / Jadeja.
Let's do that, Max.
Yeah. So CSK and Lucknow didn't make a mockery. They brought the dew factor to a whole new level of dew factor by playing in a paddling pool. It was one of the most surreal things I've seen. I think the amount of water on the surface in that game of cricket. There was a moment in the Lucknow run chase where there was genuinely a spray of water when someone did a slide on the boundary. It was unbelievable that they managed to continue to play a game of cricket in those conditions, but they did. And what a game of cricket it was. CSK started smacking the ball all over the place. Robin Uthappa, what a guy, on fire, smacking it around. Ruturaj Gaikwad. We won't talk about him because that wasn't very good. But it continued for the rest of the batting lineup. As they bat deep, they carried on. Dhoni hit 10 off his first 2 balls. It was all the good days were back. Everyone was firing. 210. It was over. It was done. Unfortunately, the problem for CSK, as we have pointed out in the past recently, is that Deepak Chahar is injured. And not having Deepak Chahar, I think, is probably the reason that CSK did not win this game of cricket. Because KL Rahul, he did what we wanted him to, didn't he? 40 off 26. Whereas he might have been 26 off 26 in the past. He took our advice to heart, got them off to a great start, to Cock as well. Excellent opening partnership of 99 for them. But they pulled it back, didn't they, CSK? They just drew them in. Dwayne Pretorius, what an inspired pickup he was in the auction, with confounding Lucknow with his slow balls. Looks like they'd taken CSK to within an inch of victory until the most dramatic example of Harry Kiri I have ever seen on a cricket pitch, which was Ravi Jadeja throwing the ball to none other than the Doob, Shivam Dube himself. 25 runs off single over, leaving poor old Mukesh Chowdhury with the impossible task of defending 8 off the final over with Evan Lewis in supreme form. Yeah. I mean, there's nowhere else to talk about. Oh God, I'm sad again now.
Where do we have to start?
Jadeja's captaincy.
Yes,
here.
yeah. That's where we need to go.
I said on Twitter yesterday that there was terrible captaincy decision and it is amazing in that situation where you've got Moeen Ali, who is a senior bowler, he's got 3 overs left. Jadeja's got 2 left, and they've gone to the Dube. Like the Dube's already had the best return he's ever going to have on an IPL field with the bat. Did they just think he was going to be like magic and be like, "This is his day. Let's take advantage of it"?
Could have been.
His confidence is up.
There's as much logic in that as anything else as a decision to bowl Shivam Dube in the 19th over.
I bet they could not believe their luck when he was coming on.
I mean, he's got it all. He's got it so wrong the whole way through here. Let's talk about how he gets there. I mean, the game plan at half time was not let's bowl Shivam Dube in the 19th over of the innings. The game plan was let's sacrifice 2 children to the run gods by making them by making them, but more or less the entire power play. Let's not attack Quinton de Kock's well-documented weakness against spin bowling here at all until he's nicely set.
Before the ball gets any wetter.
Yeah, let's keep him in the tank, and then well, I don't know. I mean, the thing that really stood out to me, at the beginning and how we got to this Dube situation is that he's only managed to bowl 3 overs of spin here. Moeen Ali's bowled 1 over. It's gone for runs. Look, it wasn't a great over.
It was over 8 though. That was the issue, right? He's nailed it. Like de Kock and Rahul were in. Yeah,
and Jadeja's only bowled 2. Now, I don't care when you get that extra over in, or even that extra two overs, but that is definitely going to be a better option than bowling Dube in the 19th over, and you have to have the 4. There's not that many overs to allocate. It's 20 overs, and it divide nicely by 4 or 5, doesn't it? So you can do the thought process. You can play along with that thought process at home, and it's inexplicable. It's basically unforgivable. They've got into the last 4 overs of that match, a big favourite to win, and lost with 3 balls to spare because of his mismanagement. Evan Lewis as well. I mean, just to talk about the spin. And while KL Rahul's at the crease, they do have a guy who is pretty good against most types of bowling. There's not really a huge obvious weakness there. Maybe to left arm spin, you find a way to tie him down. But on that pitch, I think that would have been a tough ask. Quinton de Kock isn't great against spin. If you bowl enough spin at him, he will get out. And in fact, his run rate did slow down, didn't it? Once they took the pace off the ball, and Bravo was part of this as well, I think he scored 30 off his last 30 deliveries. So he's gone from 31 off 15 balls to 61 off 45. And that's the game plan to de Kock. Manish Pandey, I mean, the only thing they've done wrong against Manish Pandey To be fair, it's got him out. Yeah, exactly, Max. Exactly. Evan Lewis, get Cricket Metric up now. Literally cannot play off spin. If off spin was the only type of bowling in cricket, he would be playing second team club cricket. It's a huge weakness, and I think Deepak Huda's got. I can't remember this exactly, but I did go through the whole team before. I think Deepak Huda's not particularly useful against left arm finger spin. So you've got Moeen Ali and you've got Jadeja. You are Jadeja. You've got yourself. You have to believe that between that combination and spinning the balls in both in two different directions, you can get an extra over or two in that goes for under 10. Mm-hmm. And then you go into the last over, and you're still rolling the dice a little bit, aren't you? Throwing the ball to Mukesh Chowdhury. But if you've got 20 on the board, 25 on the board, it's a lot. Well, you've actually got a chance of winning, haven't you? What do they end up needing? 11.
They won with 3 balls to spare.
It was 8, I think, in the end.
Yeah, and that's there's still, in a high scoring game like this where wickets are hard to come by, you're almost certain to go into the last over with the game still up for grabs, but you can go into it as an 80% favourite and the other team need to get 20 instead of what they did, but by managing one extra over there out of, and even if it goes for 10, even if it goes for 10 runs, that's 15 extra runs.
And they had the opportunity, right? Well, I think the first over only went for 2. So Chowdhury's bowled his first over in IPL cricket. It's gone for 2 runs. Then there's a bit around, right, they're going to be expecting us to bowl him again. That's when Moeen Ali should have bowled. Moeen Ali should have bowled the 3rd over, or Jadeja bowled the 3rd over. I would have gone Moeen Ali and then try to sneak that wicket, right, or get a cheap over in. And that completely changes the complexion of this. And Jadeja gives himself the 7th over. The statistically the safest over you possibly could give someone in a T20, and he's given it to himself.
It's leading from the back.
That's not fucking leadership, is it? Like, that's just not. He's completely abdicated. He's been given the throne, and instantly he's turned into Gollum. That's what's happened.
Yeah. Life with Jean has said CSK let go Faf, orange cap last season, and now they've got all novices in their bowling. And Jadoo gives Dubé the 19th over. How can CSK bounce back? We'll talk about that in a sec, but. Talking about those 2 novices, we one of our themes of the preview was that we'll see a little bit of a dip in quality in the IPL this year. And I think actually in these last 2 matches, we've seen that illustrated really clearly. Odean Smith bowling to Andre Russell was a joke. Like that, that is not a fair matchup. And that doesn't happen last season because Odean Smith is nowhere near anyone's top 4 overseas players. And the 2 guys who opened for the bowling for CSK, like, just clearly be in a starting 11 last season. So that's the sort of difference you see. And those 2, not only would they not be in a starting 11 last season, they had to come up against 2 players who definitely would be in a starting 11 last season, and it was a massive mismatch, that power play. I know Chahar's out, Deepak Chahar's out, and that has a huge impact on how good CSK are in that phase.
But one of them still had to play.
But yeah, one of them still had to play, and it's just a huge target on their back, isn't it? It's you're a walking boundary shower.
And the argument for some people, like, they might turn around and be like, "Oh, it's the dew factor. We've got 2 finger spinners. The dew factor is going to be a bit challenging." But
you've got 210 fucking runs.
Yeah, you get. I was just trying to take the words straight out of my mouth. It was
also Ravi Bishnoi bowled 2 for 42 or 4 overs.
Yeah, but Max, it's really easy to bowl with a wet ball out the back of your hand.
Yeah, I think I obviously it was. I mean, Shreyas Iyer called it a swimming pool, didn't he? Day at the toss, and it's fair enough. The dew is definitely a problem, and it's definitely worse if you have to bowl second. But that's why you score 210 runs. Like, that's why you bat like you did, bat like a team of nutcases in the first innings, so that you've got a little bit of leeway if somebody bowls a full toss and it gets hit for 6.
So I had a question on Jadeja as captain, and sort of separating Jadeja as captain from the decisions he actually made, which obviously went bad. Putting hindsight to the side for one moment. I don't like it because you want Ravi Jadeja on the boundary taking really good catches, and that's not where you want your captain. I just don't understand that.
Well, I wondered whether they've come to some sort of agreement where Jadeja does the toss and maybe chooses who bowls, but Dhoni is doing all of the in-game captaincy,
position.
like field positions and where.
Or maybe don't
wants to
do the bowling choices as well.
The camera kept on going to him, right? The camera
and
kept
he's
on going
like,
to
he's
Dhoni.
doing his. I don't know what. You know what I mean.
The joint
the
effort.
gesture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, we can't not talk about the person who embarrassed himself completely on the pitch,
Okay,
though.
let's hear.
In
Which
Kamira.
one?
His fielding was
Oh
unbelievably
my
shit.
days!
He did not deal with the Jew very well, did he?
He honestly, it was almost like he was wearing like incapacitating goggles. That's what he was wearing, like, and he was just like, "Oh, I've got 5 things that I've got to look at here, and I don't know which one." He always went for the wrong one. He dropped an unbelievably simple catch at short fine leg. He would let 2 boundaries. He literally saw it the whole way, fell over on one of them, and then just completely missed the other one. Not a good day at the office for.
A pretty fun game of cricket, though. Overall, I'd say.
I genuinely think that I really think the IPL has actually been really good so far.
I think we need more paddling pool cricket.
I was expecting the IPL to be good. I'm not as surprised by it as you appear to be, Ross. But I
thought the dip in quality might kind of make a bit of an impact, but actually, it's added to the spectacle.
A little bit, yeah. There was a moment during the power play where I thought this is too far. Like there's no, and then I was like, well, they have actually bought a good player for the power play. He's just injured, so this is a little bit unexpected.
They bought a good player with a power play for 14 crore.
But KL Rahul and
which left them with no money to spend on any backups
versus 2 backup players. It wasn't pretty, was it? And it wasn't. I don't think it was. It was in the Big Bash League category of spectacles.
And it didn't have to be, right? That's the bit. I think Jadeja, as you said, Jadeja's captaincy put that in that situation. Yes, you've still got to find overs from those players, but they bowled the toughest overs in the game and were taken down, which you would expect them to be taken down by, I think. Vic London, thanks very much for the super chat. And
Give
Akash,
Vic some love.
And Moeen Ali's drop catch was also really fun.
That is true.
It was right in the bread basket, and he dropped
it. Was a poor drop. Right, anything else from this match, Max? You're a CSK fan.
Well, about a Doob.
Batted well. Yeah, Evan Lewis batted well.
Yeah, once again, Shivam Dube's had his game where he puts in an unbelievable performance in a losing cause, and that'll sustain him for another few and then he tried £1 contracts over the.
And then he tried to hit a 6 to the 89-metre boundary when he was on 50, which I thought was he got too big for his Doob. Doesn't make any sense. Doob.
No. It's just very disappointing for CSK. I looking, you look at the bowling lineup, and DJ Bry was actually proving to be very, very handy indeed. So maybe not such a poor acquisition despite his age, but they're going to have to score nearly 200 to win games of cricket, and they couldn't even hold on to this one. But I actually think they might be a bat first team in this league where you shouldn't be batting first because it's too wet, which is also a problem.
Thanks you to Uma Mahesh as well for another donation of 25 PLN. We worked out what that was once, didn't we? But I can't remember what it is. Polish, maybe? Who knows? Let us know in the chat.
Polish lottery.
I did want to. We were going to do a little bit on themes. We've talked quite a lot about these 2 matches, so maybe they were quite good games, weren't they? You get 3 Dre Russ performances this season. You can spend some time on Dre Russ when you get given the opportunity. I did want to touch on win toss, win game, though, Ross. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think as your Mystic Meg predictions with your lovely crystal ball has kind of said, right? They've been really close. I think that they've managed. I think the other theme is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And actually, it's not just been a case of the team who wins the toss wins the game. Actually, it's kind of been the team who lose the toss bottle the game in an unbelievable fashion.
And the team who Jack backs lose the game as well. So if Jack, you want to just start backing teams that lose the toss,
made my predictions have been great
around.
for 35 overs of the 40 overs in loads of the situations. I think it's an interesting one. Look, obviously we know the toss is a factor, and we know the dew is a factor. We can see the guys sliding around and not having great grip on the ball. Maybe they need to put undersoil heating in or something like that, get the temperature of the grass up. You can't. It
Play a sea of mist.
Yes, that'd be a good
That'd be good.
That is
be
what would
really
happen.
good.
That is what would happen. You'd have a bowler like emerge out of the cloud, wouldn't you, to deliver.
You don't need a sight screen. You can't see anything.
That's thrown me a little bit. Well, I was going to say, so we've had 8 matches, and the team batting first has lost 7 of them. I do think that there have been a handful of really freakish performances in there. Akshar Patel, he's an okay batter. Yeah, he's not. I'm going to car park Bumrah for 3 balls in a row. Batter. That's only going to happen once in his career, and if it doesn't, then Bumrah wins that match from Mumbai, don't they? And then it's 6-2. Punjab Kings, Odean Smith. Which is the real Odean Smith? The guy today who couldn't hit the ball, or the guy who hit 25 of 8 balls?
Depends very much who's bowling at him.
Well, exactly. If that goes the other way, then it's 5-3. Yesterday's game, if Jadeja manages that properly, I think 210 runs is enough. I think they were 80-90% favourites maybe in that match at the halfway stage. And it's 4-all. We're getting the theme here, Ross. Like you summed it up well. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. We've seen it at least on those 3 occasions. And wasn't there, in fact, actually another match where the team batting second? Gujarat, yeah, that one again. That was a KL Rahul special, wasn't it? Bowling Deepak Huda in the 16th over of the match. I think the other thing that maybe we haven't seen teams nail yet is who are the death bowlers for each side. There's at least, I'd say, 5 franchises out there where I think that's pretty unclear. KKR obviously one because they're just using whoever. Punjab, well, I don't really know. Maybe it's Rabada, but he's not. It's probably going to be Rabada, and he's okay, isn't he? He's okay, Rabada. I don't know. Delhi. I don't know who Delhi are going to use with Norkie not around. Chennai Super Kings, who are they turning to?
But this is
But this isn't a problem. They will solve these problems. They will solve these problems, and you'll see people who are trusted to bowl the 19th over, and not Shivam Dubey or
the next Harshal Patel shall emerge.
So I'm not watching the IPL being like, this is completely pointless because whoever wins the toss wins the game. It probably gives you an extra 5% chance. And we literally talked about this, didn't we, for the PSL? Sorry, Indian fans, we'll go there. We talked about the PSL. The first 5 matches of that were won by the team batting second, and then 8 in a row won by the team batting first. So it's T20 cricket. Random stuff happens. You need to look at like probably 200 matches to
randomness is lumpy
to start to get an actual view on trends. You can't after 8 matches say this is what it is. It doesn't work like that.
I think there's a couple of other themes in here. We've seen some new faces turn up and are starting to leave their mark, right? I think in the chat, a couple of people highlighting we need to talk about good Dhoni or bad Dhoni by name, good Dhoni by nature. He's done really well. And that's the thing that the IPL is amazing, right? The rich tapestry of entertainment brings people out of nowhere and puts them into the cauldron and turns them into superstars. And Dhoni couldn't have really started better. And it was
like handing on the mantle of the Dhoni name, wasn't it, in the last match? Do you reckon when Dhoni calls it a day, bad will drop the BA and just completely own that?
Will he add an H as well?
He's actually got a bachelor in the arts of Dhoni. That's what he's actually got. That's what he's going for.
Kaushik, thank you for the super chat and keep them coming. We love money.
Surely that's a BSc.
Fellas, there's some matches at the weekend. There's only 3 matches. I was surprised by this. My IPL wall chart.
Hey, I'm not done on themes.
You're not done. You're okay. More themes. There's more themes.
More theme.
Friday.
Friday
night theme night.
The most important theme.
Theme Friday, that would have been a better one. Oh, Redemption, talk to me.
Redemption.
Yeah.
So I talked about the rich tapestry, but they have almost perfect script-like narratives in the IPL. We have players.
That's because it's fixed.
Oh, hey now. Hey. Stop. It's not WWE. As I said, we've got players who've shot to stardom out of nowhere through their ingenuity and their talent. Players who have turned up and then just quickly disappeared like a fart in the wind. And we also have been we've had players who've been through it all, right? They've been in the IPL for 10, 15 years. We've seen their faces everywhere, and yet they still find something to prove that they've got something else to give. And this is the redemption arc that I think we've seen across the opening couple of games. And it might be because the standard is a little bit lower, but we have seen superstars return to almost their former selves. Russ today after an injury-ravaged season. Dhoni, Max, you mentioned kind of 6 off the first ball for the first time in his IPL career and striking at over 110, which is amazing for him.
Most sixes in the 16th or 20th overs ever out of anyone, and that's not just because he's played loads more matches than anyone else.
No, yeah, that's very, very true. But we've also got the Yadav arc,
yes.
The Yadav redemption arc, and there is 2 people to this. We've got Kuldeep Yadav, who's had one great game and hopefully has another great game at the weekend for Delhi.
It'd be rubbish for your narrative if he was terrible now, wouldn't it? But
it will, yeah. But Umesh Yadav, out of nowhere, out of complete wilderness, Umesh Yadav has come in and he's blowing people away.
So what you're saying, Ross, is lump on Giant and Lalit next.
Yeah, it's the season of Yadav.
Yeah.
Umesh Yadav, I've been really impressed with him. I think it's 3 games now where he has been a top quality operator.
Yeah.
Big boy performances from Umesh. Should we talk about the weekend?
Yeah.
So we've got 3 matches coming up, starting tomorrow. So there's 2 tomorrow, aren't there? There's a morning and an evening game, or morning and an afternoon game if you're in UK. We've got Mumbai Indians v Rajasthan Royals. Ross, you are a big Royals fan. Are you looking forward to this match, and what should we look out for?
Yeah, I am. I think we saw in the first set of games that Rajasthan have got much more of a plan than they did last year, which is a major step forward for teams that don't have a plan.
Yeah,
which is good, a nice place to be. Mumbai threw away their position against Delhi and managed to lose that game, another kind of snatching defeat out of the victory. So I think it's probably going to be quite a tight game, I think, actually. I think, again, it takes a little bit of time for CSK to warm up, takes a bit of time for Mumbai to warm up historically, but when they get going, it's quite dangerous. I think here, where's it being played? It's not being played at the Wankhede.
DY Patil.
So the DY Patil. So I think here, this is where someone like Ashwin and Chahal combining, as they did in the last game, could be really effective. And the middle order of Mumbai Indians is really going to have to step up and make sure they've got an answer to that. And I think that's where the game's going to be won and lost tomorrow.
Rajasthan looked really good in their first game. I think this is where we find out whether they're there for real.
Was it them or was it SRH?
Well, I mean, I was going to say one of the great things about this weekend is that SRH aren't going to be on the TV. They've been relegated to the Monday night slot, the graveyard shift of the IPL. I think it was at least 50% because of SRH. Mumbai Indians still think they're a pretty useful outfit despite being 0-1. So that will be a good one. Where's your money, Max?
Super over.
That's no use, is it?
No. I think I've got a funny feeling the Rajasthan Royals are going to do it.
Rajasthan. I'm going to go Mumbai.
Yeah.
Then, and that means Ross, you've got to make the call.
Well, I'm going to curse my own boys. So I'm going to have to go Royals because I'm a Royals fan. I want them to win. I think Mumbai are going to come out pretty fearsome tomorrow. I think it's going to be. And you imagine having CSK and Mumbai Indians 2 played, 2 lost. That would be something. It
would be something. Vic London, Super Chat. You guys are doing really well. Keep the good content coming. It's sort of
Thanks,
like
Dad.
one part condescending there, isn't it? But also quite nice.
You guys.
Thank you.
I can feel my hair being ruffled as we speak.
Thank you, Vic. Next match tomorrow afternoon. So there's only one match on Sunday. I got this all wrong, haven't I?
No, you got it.
No, that's what you said. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Games on Saturday.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have doubted
all
myself.
good, mate. Don't worry.
Gujarat Titans v Delhi Capitals.
You're doing really well, mate. Keep up the good work.
Gujarat Titans v Delhi Capitals. Max, I think that Delhi, now that they actually have 4 overseas players, should probably win this. Although I was pleasantly surprised by Gujarat Titans and Killer Miller and the crew. They were a much more fun team than I thought they would be. I had Gujarat Titans down as the new SRH, but I don't think that's what we're going to get from them. I think we just get chaos.
Chaos is good.
I think they're going to be on. I think they're going to be on the receiving end of an absolute pounding.
Do you?
They'll
set the record for biggest loss this year.
You reckon?
Yeah, they will set the record. Yeah,
In this match?
Maybe not in this match, but in this year, Gujarat Titans will set the record for heaviest defeat
for this season, not the 146 all-time record.
146. That is going.
Wow.
Genuinely, I've got zero faith in that batting lineup. Zero. I think they got Mohammed Shami won them the game in the power play. That can't happen every single game. I think. Yeah, I'm not out of that camp. I think Gujarat Titans are finishing bottom.
Okay. Well, they've got a Yadav.
Yeah.
Does that change your mind?
Oh yeah, they're going to win it. Sorry.
You're going to win the whole thing.
Max, I think that's a little bit harsh from old Roscoe 92 up there.
I think it is because I think their bowling is pretty decent. You know, Shami in the power play, Lockie Ferguson is quick, Rashid Khan. Hardik Pandya now bowls. He bowled 4 overs. So if he can actually, I don't think he should bowl 4 overs. I'm not sure that was necessary. But, if he does bowl, that adds the magic word of balance to their side. They've got Twatia to throw in a couple of overs. So I think their bowling is reasonably. I've even said, mentioned Varun Aaron. He took a bit of tap against Lucknow, but he's quick. So in bowling, they've got something. So I think they've got enough there to avoid the 149 run defeat this year. But I do think Delhi Capitals will have too much for them.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see whether they have a non-bowling number 6 and number 7 in this match as well.
That's a very questionable move.
One of the most bold lineups.
Dry.
Pardon?
They had to keep Twatty's powder dry. That's what they need to do. You rest. We don't want to tire you out because you are our star 9 crore finisher.
I think it is. I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like there's a lot of brains behind that outfit, but that's not a bad thing. Final match then. I heard so. Ross, you're Gujarat. No, you're Delhi.
I'm Delhi. Yeah, Delhi.
I'm Delhi. Max, are you?
Yeah, also Delhi.
Delhi. No, oh dear.
Put all your money on Gujarat Titans.
Max, the thing is, if we split our predictions, then we can't all lose. Now,
sorry. Did you say that Gujarat Titans have a Yadav in their side? Yes. Sorry.
Exactly.
No, I missed that. Yeah. Obviously, Gujarat Titans are gonna win that one.
Yeah, but Delhi have one as well in Lalat.
Yeah.
Oh, super over.
It is. Yeah.
A never-ending super over.
The 11th match of this year's IPL will be Chennai Super Kings versus Punjab Kings. I'm going to say right straight up that I think Punjab Kings will bounce back, beat Super Kings. In the battle of the Kings, Supers are going down.
King Derby.
Anyone want to disagree with that?
It's interesting. We talked before around how one of the perceived weaknesses of this Punjab Kings lineup, it could well be spin bowling. So if Jadeja uses himself and Moeen Ali effectively, yes, Max, he's waving his shirt for those of you who are listening on the podcast. So that is an area that they are going to have to address, right? I think Rajapaksa might well ruin Deshpande's career if he gets going against him. So there could be.
You're calling a career ender in the third match of his.
Could be.
No mincing of words today with Ross. He's going
shock jock. That's what
shock jock Ross.
Shock Ross.
But Max, I think you're right, Jack. I think Punjab. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be such a good game. That's the only reason they've got one game on Sunday.
I think it could be. Chennai have shown that they can score runs, and Punjab have shown to some extent that they can't really bowl. Chennai have proved that they can't bowl. So this it could be a pretty fun one. Max, do you have any hope at all, or is it going to be a disastrous start to the season?
My head says Punjab. My heart says CSK. I think we might see a little rotation of the whipping boys, also known as CSK's power play bowlers. Bring someone else in for a go, and they may prove to be slightly more successful and allow CSK to actually win a game of cricket. I'm hopeful, not confident that that CSK will do the business.
I tell you, there could be a run fest. I think. I think Punjab are a team that could score 250. Not saying it'll happen this weekend. If it all works and the guys who I was slating earlier in the show come in with a really limited task to try and hit as many sixes as they can in a row before
and the ball gets bowled in the right place.
Yeah, then it could happen. And
I think it's going to be. Is it Chris Jordan's day Sunday?
Well, couldn't it?
Is it the day of the Jordan?
Could be the day of the Jordan. He looks. It's interesting, isn't it? That he looks like a solution now. After
Adam Mill will surely come back into that side, but
who knows?
We do have to remind everyone the game starts at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So if you are doing the fantasy league, remember you.
Do you want to talk about your fantasy league day? And you have to plug our Patreon.
Yeah. So on Patreon, if you sign up for our Patreon, you'll get added to the fantasy league that we've got going on at the moment, and it's proving popular from our members. So it's a good bit of competition. Max keeps forgetting to do it, which is hilarious.
I've remembered the last 3 days now.
If you're the other thing, if you're a YouTube member, we're not so good at keeping up with that because we have to monitor too many platforms and we're idiots. But if you leave a comment on this video, not in the chat, on the video, we'll find a way to get you the link for the join because you deserve to be involved as well.
Yeah, you deserve to lose to me because I'm currently winning.
How many points did you get today?
I think I got 750 points.
Yeah, but also he's used 94 transfers already. So
I've got 117 left. I've got more than Jack has.
I've got 114.
So there we go. So
that's
it was
Andre
big Andre Russell day.
A trillion runs. Yeah, I feel so stupid not having him in my team.
Well,
I didn't want to do too many transfers, and KKR don't play for a week, so I was like,
"This is it. This is the beauty of decisions to be made in IPL fantasy cricket." So get involved.
Yeah, in the show notes, Patreon, and also the Discord is actually genuinely fun to play along with. Should we wrap up the show? We're recording on the Patreon front. We're just about to record the next Patreon exclusive episode, aren't we? So. I don't know. Look, it's all sorts of good things happening over there in the show notes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.